Gramagad Ceann Comhairle. Tánaiste, this morning I want to raise the issue with you of youth unemployment. The youth unemployment rate in Ireland now stands at 59%, which means that for every 5 young people in Ireland, 3 of them have no job. The EU average of youth unemployment is 17%. It's considered to be extremely high in Spain at 40%. In the UK, it's 14%. Now, young people have been unfairly targeted over the course of this pandemic, I'm sure you'll agree. But young people have been working incredibly hard within their own families, in their own communities over the past year. And over the past number of years, they've changed Ireland for the better in their activism, in their engagement, in their campaigning. Your own Minister, Roderick O'Gorman, yesterday said it was only for the energy and activism of young people that brought the climate change bill to the houses of the Oireachtas this week, and he's right. And we saw what happened earlier this year with their activism around the Leaving Cert. Our fear in the Labour Party is that we're losing a generation again, as we lost 10 years ago. What we're asking for, and what the Youth Council of Ireland are asking for, Tánaiste, is a task force on youth unemployment. That government need to take this issue seriously, because the economy that was presented and the country that was presented to these young people before the pandemic had 40% of young people under 30 years of age in insecure employment, and far too many of them in insecure accommodation. And they're looking at a return to normal, which means insecure jobs and high rent. And many of them are wondering why they should hang around. We lost a generation 10 years ago. We can't afford to lose another generation. So with a youth unemployment rate, a youth joblessness rate of 59%, and this falls under your own ministerial responsibilities, Tánaiste, can I ask you what priority you're giving to this issue? Will you listen to the National Youth Council of Ireland and establish such a task force? What are you, as Minister, as Tánaiste, what is your government doing to tackle the issue of youth unemployment in Ireland?
Tánaiste.
Thanks very much, Deputy, and I really want to thank Deputy Ríordáin for raising this issue, which is really important to him and really important to me too. And I think it's true that young people have suffered a lot in this pandemic. Different people and different sectors in our society have suffered in different ways. Women have suffered differently to men. Older people have suffered differently to younger people. Certainly when it comes to the health impact, older people have borne the brunt of this pandemic in terms of lives lost, people hospitalised and people who were made very sick as a result of this virus. But the economic impact has certainly fallen disproportionately on younger people in terms of jobs lost, lives interrupted, college experiences interrupted, education interrupted, the inability to make friends, build relationships, do all the things that younger people do. And I very much agree with your analysis and assessment in that regard. And I certainly don't want us to lose another generation. Too many times in the past, we lost a generation of people to emigration due to economic mismanagement. And many of the people under 35 are now experiencing their second recession in their adult life, which is extraordinary if you think about it that way. We need to make sure that we don't have a repeat of the last recession, where younger people have to leave and go to other countries to seek opportunities. We are going to respond to this. We're going to respond to this in a cross-government way. Minister Harris, I believe, is meeting at NYCI this week, and I intend to bring together Minister Humphreys, Minister Harris, myself, Minister Foley and others to see what we can do to respond to this problem. Part of it may involve, for people in education, a catch-up programme, which I know you've called for yourself, but that's really more for people who've missed out on schooling. There'll also be a response in terms of educational opportunities. It's already the case that there are more people participating in third-level education than ever before in Ireland. We want to continue that and expand that more. You'll be aware of what Minister Harris is doing in relation to apprenticeships to increase the opportunities there as well. And also we want to make sure that once the economy does reopen, that those younger people get their jobs back and that they have better terms and conditions in doing so. And you'll know the work that is underway now in relation to sick pay and living wage and auto-enrolment. There is something that I do need to say. I think you said in your opening remarks that we have 59% youth unemployment, and that means 3 out of 5 younger people are out of work, and that's not correct. We calculate youth unemployment in a particular way in Ireland, and we don't include people who are in education or training. So when we say that 59% of people who are 59% of young people are unemployed, that doesn't mean that 59% of young people are unemployed. It means that 59% of young people who are in the workforce are unemployed. So it's actually 59% of people who are not in education or training. And of course, a very large number of those are out of work because they would tend to have worked in areas like retail, construction and hospitality, most of which will reopen over the next couple of months, we hope. So, you know, typically youth unemployment is double the adult rate. Or the older people rate, but that's actually not what it seems because of the way it's calculated.
Thank you very much, Tánaiste. Deputy Ó Ríordáin.
You see, I know this isn't a priority for you, Minister Tánaiste, because I took the time last night to go through every single one of your tweets this year since January 2021. And the number of times that you've mentioned youth unemployment came to the grand total of 0. But the number of times that you referenced Sinn Féin came to the grand total of 12. So if I was a young person in Ireland, I would come to the conclusion that your obsession is not with young people and youth unemployment and getting people jobs and saving this generation. Your obsession is with a political game with Sinn Féin. 0 tweets about youth unemployment, 12 tweets about Sinn Féin, and that's only since the beginning of the year.
Tánaiste.
Yeah, thanks, Deputy. I just think that's a cheap shot, Ceann Comhairle, a very cheap shot, and the Deputy once again is engaging in virtue signalling, you know, trying to make out that not only do we disagree with each other, he's also a better person than me, and he cares more. And that's just cheap politics, I believe. You know, the number of times you tweet about something isn't necessarily a reflection of how important you regard something to be. But if the deputy wants, he can go back and read a speech that I gave. I gave a speech to the Young Fine Gael conference only last Saturday, and a large section of that speech specifically dealt with this issue, how young people have been impacted by the pandemic and what we intend to do. And that was covered in the media. The fact that it wasn't tweeted is irrelevant, and that's just a cheap shot, unfortunately.